Well, thanks for joining us. You are here for Pacer Center's Effective Communication with the IEP team. Welcome. Just a quick legal disclaimer that Pacer Center is not a legal services agency and does not provide legal advice or legal representation. The content of this presentation and related materials are for informational and educational purposes only. It is not legal advice and should not be used as a substitute for legal advice. And my name is Colleen Cascudo. I am a parent trainer and advocate here at Pacer. I have 3 children, 2 of whom have disabilities, and they have been on IEP since they were about 3 years old. I have sat in special education meetings as a parent and as an educator. So I've learned the importance of knowing my rights and how to be prepared to advocate for my children's needs.
And I'm Robbie Weil, and I just realized I forgot to change my glasses. That's why it's all fuzzy. So I apologize. So I'm Robbie Weil. I came to Pacer also after decades as an educator, and 2 of my now grown children received special education services. I think the reason Colleen and I work well together, it's like, do as we say, don't do what I did, which was I did not know my rights. My children are all grown. But I never knew to contact Pacer. And as a teacher, I really thought I understood the process. And then I literally spent my first month at Pacer crying on the way home about how I would have done things differently, and then giving myself grace because we only know what we know at the time. So Pacer Center, just to give a little background, is Minnesota's parent training and information center for special education. And following the passage of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act was when Helping Parents, our first program, was started. We had a staff of 5 people in one project, and the goal was to empower Minnesota parents and guardians with the knowledge to be an equal member of their child's IEP team. And our role is still to support families in being active, collaborative, and equal members of their child's team by helping learn what rights they have under IDEA and to understand their options at any point. To better understand our role, please be sure to read through our handout that you should have received, The Role of an Advocate, which was the first link on that resource page. Over the years, we have grown to a staff of about 75 with more than 30 programs. And again, you can look at all of those different programs on our website, www.pacer.org. From birth through a child's 22nd birthday and transitioning to adulthood, Pacer works hard to partner with parents of students with disabilities, and our mission remains the same: to enhance the quality of life and outcomes for children with disabilities and their families. So our focus today is going to be on communicating effectively with the IEP team when you're advocating for your child's educational needs. Using effective communication skills in your IEP team meetings can lead to some very positive outcomes, and those are our learning targets for today. The goal is that after this webinar, you'll be able to use our 10 strategies to build a collaborative relationship as an equal member of your child's IEP team, to support productive discussions at any school meeting. And that's on there twice, and I'm not sure why.
So
I forgot to mention the Q&A. Sorry, Colleen. There's also a Q&A tab on your link here, and we will be taking questions at the end as we have time. Please know that this workshop is geared for parents, although we are glad when there are professionals here as well. You're all equal members of the team. And please know that we are going to try to focus on taking questions that are more general. We're not going to talk specifics about your particular situation. We will tell you how to contact us if you want to do that. And we are going to stick specifically to questions about what we're covering today. All yours.
Okay. So let's imagine that you run a company and you're creating a new program with a designated office space. Those spaces need to be painted. You would not just call a painter, open the door, and say, get to work. You would first need to collect some data and work with the painter to make some decisions. How many rooms are you painting? What is the size of the rooms? What colors do you want and where? You have input as you work together to make the plan in order to move forward. Occasionally, you will need to make changes as you go. For example, if you decide to have an accent color added to a wall, but there may be specific laws or rules regarding safety, pulling permits the painter needs to follow. You would give input as to what colors you would like on which walls. You may need to make decisions as to who will be responsible for things like moving furniture. Once everything has been discussed and there is agreement, you would be presented with a contract to sign so the painter can get started. In much the same way, parents and guardians have dreams for their children. The information you bring to the school is important. You have an equal voice in the process. By enrolling in a district, you have already hired the professional. You now need to work together as a team to create an educational program for your child that will meet their needs. This is not a one-stop process. There are time-sensitive check-ins or progress reports. There are scheduled yearly meetings to discuss changes based on progress or lack of progress. There are triennial meetings to fully reevaluate your child's needs. You also have the right to ask for a meeting anytime there is a concern. Doing all of this requires effective communication.
So strategy number one for effective communication with the IEP team is learning to speak the language of special education. And there is a lot. The world of education is its own language already. MAPs, MCAs, educators love their acronyms. Even more important in the special education world, where you are expected to be a fully collaborative member. How do you know that without knowing the language? Here are 4 of the most important acronyms that make up the foundation of special education. FAPE, or Free and Appropriate Public Education, is the foundation of the process. It protects the right of every child who is identified by the public school district as eligible for special education services to receive an appropriate education at no cost to parents from age 3 through their 22nd birthday in Minnesota. That was something else I realized we didn't mention. This is also specific in some areas to Minnesota law. So if you do live in another state, you can reach out to us and we can connect you with your own PTI. Got to put that slide back in. Another important acronym is the IEP, which is the Individualized Education Program. This is the written plan for a student in special education. It describes what the school will do for the student to help them reach their educational goals. All of this has to be done in the LRE, or least restrictive environment. And this is a reference to the school's obligation to provide the services and supports a child needs to make progress while balancing that and allowing them to remain with their typically developing peers to the greatest degree possible. PWN is the all-important notice that you should receive anytime there's a proposal to change, implement, or a denial to something such as an evaluation. The PWN explains the proposal. We do have a YouTube channel, and we did a workshop just a couple of weeks ago specifically about the paperwork. It includes a lot of information about the prior written notice. But wait, there's more. Every time you think you speak special education, there will be more to learn. For example, when your child transitions to a new school district that uses a different IEP form than the one you've learned to read and nothing looks recognizable. Or when your child enters high school and transition services are added to the IEP along with measurable post-secondary goals that you've never seen before. Or when your child qualifies for a different category of disability services and the school proposes a reading goal to improve their phonemic awareness, or maybe they propose a positive behavior intervention plan. In all of these situations, there's new vocabulary to learn so that you can follow exactly where your child is in their special education journey and make informed decisions about their IEP services. When you are not understanding what is being said, it is not just okay, but vitally important to stop and ask for clarification. And remember, you have the power of the pen when you receive a prior written notice with consent form. You should never consent before you understand. To help you navigate all this language, PACER has developed a guide to the IEP for Minnesota parents. And this is something that you should have received a link to in the resources that you will also receive after the webinar. We encourage you to use it as a resource to help you build your understanding of the language of special education and to become more comfortable and confident in speaking with your child's IEP team.
So strategy number 2 for effective communication with the IEP team is to put it in writing. Parents and staff sometimes get into the habit of checking in at drop-off or pickup, short phone conversations, or other informal methods. The challenge is that these informal exchanges do not hold up well if there is some kind of disagreement. Formal written communication makes sense when you have questions about your child's IEP, or you need updates about the IEP services that your child is receiving, when you need information from the school district about a policy, or you have concerns about your child's progress. Having a phone call or a face-to-face conversation may be very important, but after the call or conversation in person, sit down and write an email to the school district staff person you spoke to. Summarize what you talked about and your understanding of what is going to happen next, if any action steps were agreed or discussed. Even a short email to say, thanks for chatting with me about, I understand that, so there is no confusion. Communicating all of this in writing creates a record, and records improve everyone's memory. Records help everyone on your child's IEP team keep track of your questions, concerns, and ideas. Records help IEP team members stay on the same page about your child's needs. Figure out a system that works for you to keep any correspondence that has to do with your child's IEP services and have it all in one place where you can easily find it. It can be very helpful in supporting your effective communication with the IEP team. Putting it in writing is an effective strategy to make your voice heard.
Strategy 3 is to make every minute count at an IEP team meeting. Be prepared. Time is short, days are busy, everybody's time is valuable, but so is having all the right services and support in place for your child. PACER advocates do not go to regular IEP meetings. Our role is to help you feel empowered. We want school staff to see you as the equal member of the team that you have the right and responsibility to be. Here are some things to help meetings run smoothly. Check the invitation or notice of team meeting to see who will be attending. You have the right to request specific team members if you believe someone is important or if you have invited them already. If someone is not on the list that you requested, or if at the meeting you are asked to be okay with someone not being there, you do have the right to say that you would prefer to postpone that meeting. Make sure that you are clear about the purpose of the meeting. Again, this will probably be included on the invitation or notice, but if it is missing something that you had concerns about, it's okay to share that. Again, something feels off doesn't really guide a conversation. If you're struggling to identify your concerns, it can be helpful to first review the relevant data or documents, something we help PACER parents with all the time. School records, discipline reports, progress reports, consent forms, all of these show where your child has come from and where they are headed. Make sure that you always have a copy of previous and current IEP, progress reports, and the most recent evaluation report. Many people create their own system that works, but if you would like, we do have a special education record-keeping folder you can order. We also have a review process that is included in your resources and that we often help parents through. Timing, priorities, all of this preparation can help you use the time in the actual meeting in an effective way so that every minute together counts toward creating the right plan to support your child. Remember that a meeting is only a discussion, and following a meeting, if there are any proposals, you should get those in the form of a prior written notice. This is part of why we're comfortable not being at those meetings. That prior written notice gives you the ability to disagree if need be. Familiarize yourself with the resources we are sending, attending workshops, asking questions of your team, All of these also help every minute count in a meeting. As Minnesota's Parent Training and Information Center, our job again is to make sure you feel confident in assuming your role as an equal member of the IEP team. Until the requirement that each state have a PTI, no one was tasked with supporting you through this complex process. And we are here to help at any time, especially before a meeting.
Strategy number 4, respect multiple perspectives. Look at the drawing. What animal do you see? If you see a duck, try to shift your perspective until you see the rabbit. If you see the rabbit, try to shift your perspective until you see the duck. You may not realize it, but this is an exercise in effective communication. Everyone's perception of your child is filtered through different values, beliefs, personal experiences, cultural backgrounds, professional training, and more. Every person at an IEP team meeting brings a unique perspective to the discussion. Parents are experts about their own children. School personnel have training and experience. Both are necessary. Developing a clear understanding of your child's educational needs requires many different perspectives. An essential strategy for communicating effectively with your child's IEP team is listening to the different perspectives of all IEP team members, voicing your parent perspective on your child's educational needs, and then focusing your discussion with the IEP team on how your perspectives connect to paint a clear and complete picture of your child's educational needs. Once you've accomplished this, then you can move forward collaboratively to make an appropriate change to your child's IEP services and supports, or make plans for an appropriate evaluation. It is important to remember people go into teaching because they enjoy children and want to help them learn and grow. As a former teacher, I can clearly state that while teaching is exceedingly rewarding, it is not easy or glamorous. Step into your IEP and other meetings with the belief that the school staff members who are a part of your team are present with honorable intentions. To mirror that thought, school members need to understand that parents have that innate drive to protect their child. Parents are not trying to make the job of teaching harder when they ask questions or disagree. Different points of view can actually enrich a team and make better solutions.
Strategy number 5 is to find a detour when you hit a roadblock, and there will be roadblocks or points of disagreement. When your child continues to struggle, even while an IEP is being implemented, you know that your child has met a roadblock. The team will need to work to understand what has changed or what may need to change. As guardians, it often falls on our shoulders to put the special education process in motion by sending up a signal flare to the IEP team and asking for help. We have a responsibility to reach out to the IEP case manager and say, hey, I think my child has hit a roadblock. Let's let the IEP team get together and find a detour. Do not lose courage when you hit a roadblock. It takes creative thinking and collaborative problem solving to get around them. Here's an example of a roadblock that a parent who reached out to Pacer was experiencing. The child was on an IEP with deficits in sensory needs and regulation, fine motor skills, and communication. The child was learning to use an AAC, or Augmentative Alternative Communication device. And because this child was highly socially motivated and gifted in math, the team decided that being in the general education math class was appropriate. Partway into the year, though, the math teacher was reporting that the child was disengaged, not allowing the paraprofessional to support them, and spent most of the time breaking pencils. There were continued calls home regarding the disruptive behavior, and the parent was also hearing complaints from their child. The family asked to meet with the team to address the roadblock. How do we support this child to be successful in the general education math class? At the IEP meeting requested by the parent, the team brainstormed and came up with this detour. Additional training was given to both the teacher and the paraprofessional in how to better support the student's direct communication with his peers and facilitate actual conversations using the AAC device.
Strategy 6 for effective communication with the IEP team is to focus on the problem, not the solution. Personally, this is one of the ones I recommend to parents a lot. When we go into an IEP team meeting, we're expected to solve problems together and in collaboration, and we are just one voice on the IEP team. It's a huge adjustment for most parents. When a meeting starts with everyone sharing their solution to a problem, the meeting can fall apart as everyone works to make sure the rest of the team understands why their solution is the solution. For example, picture an IEP team meeting where a parent requests because their child is struggling in the general education classroom, and the parent is focusing only on the solution. The parent starts the meeting by telling the IEP team the solution. My child is struggling in the general education classroom. He comes home every day and cries because he doesn't remember what he's supposed to do for homework. He says he has no friends and he doesn't want to go to school anymore. My child needs one-to-one para support. Well, the school administrator at the meeting says, well, we don't have enough staff available right now to assign a one-on-one para to your child. The IEP case manager says the only child I've worked with that had a one-to-one para was a child with a rare medical condition. The classroom teacher says, you don't want your child to feel different from the other kids, do you? Because that's what would happen if there was a one-to-one para. And the discussion at this IEP team meeting becomes heated and no agreement is reached because the discussion never gets focused on the problem. Everyone leaves the meeting feeling frustrated and everyone is focused on why the solution won't work. Now, picture that same parent advocating for their child in an IEP team meeting that focuses on the problem. The parent starts the meeting by telling the IEP team the problem. My child is struggling in the general education classroom. He comes home every day and cries because he doesn't remember what he's supposed to do for homework. He says he has no friends and he doesn't want to go to school anymore. How can we help him? The IEP case manager says, I could check in with your son at the end of the day, help him organize his homework assignments and pack his backpack. I could create a checklist for him for his end of the day routine and teach him how to use it more independently with practice. The school social worker says I could match your son to a weekly social skills group with other kids his age. We could add those direct service minutes to his IEP. The classroom teacher says I could teach a weekly lesson for the whole class on accepting people who are different from us. The school district administrator says we can also assign a shared paraprofessional to the general education classroom to help reinforce the organizational strategies and social skills lessons your son is learning. What do you think? The discussion at this IEP team meeting is productive because the parent focuses the energy of the IEP team on the problem. The parent makes it possible for the IEP team to work collaboratively toward appropriate solutions. That is what communicating effectively with the IEP team is all about. When you observe your child losing their school papers every day and not turning in anything on time, tell the IEP team about the problem and ask how they can help your child to develop their skills for organization and time management. When you observe your child withdrawing from their peers, tell the IEP team about the problem and ask how they can help your child build their social confidence.
And I'm going to go a little bit off script here. What I'm thinking about as well that I just want to share, because it feels like the appropriate time, and I'm sure that Colleen would agree, we get so many parents, calls from parents or guardians who are frustrated or concerned. And one of the first things I ask is, have you talked with your child's case manager? Have you brought this to the team? And the answer is often no. So I just want to reinforce here, communication starts with communicating. So don't be afraid, obviously you don't want to call them every day, but if there's a concern, reach out. They don't know there's a problem if you don't share it. You're going to focus on the problem to find a solution, but don't be afraid to reach out. They are your equal members. You are all equal members of the team. That's what they're there for. Little offsite. So strategy number 7 for effective communication is to understand that words have power. Words matter, and words can set the tone to create a positive working relationship. Conversely, they can create defensiveness in others. And I think of this often in terms of children as well. We talk a lot about how you phrase things and are you putting them into fight or flight mode. That happens with adults as well. It's important to use neutral language. The word you in a sentence can put people on the defensive, and defensive people don't listen. Practice using I language. Instead of you're not helping my child, try I am concerned that my child is not getting the help they need based on their progress. Instead of you're not listening to me, try I don't feel my concern was understood. Stay fact-based, not feeling-based. Schools operate from data. Describe what you are seeing or hearing that is concerning. Stating that you feel your child is not making progress is not the same as stating on their last 3 quizzes, their scores went down. Can we talk about that? Instead of saying nobody is helping my child transition when leaving school, share on most days when they come home, they don't have their planner or their homework. Who's helping them transition? Suggest rather than demand. This again leaves an opening for collaborative dialogue. It is often a way to begin some brainstorming. Instead of, you should never send my child to the office, ask, when my child is having a meltdown, could somebody be brought in to support them? Instead of, we need to use a different reading method, try, my child's progress seems slow. What other reading methods could we look at? This allows the team to agree to your idea or to use it as a springboard to find a solution to a problem. Again, clarity is so important. We have already discussed the complexity of the language of special education, and there is no way to know it all. You always have the right to stop and ask for someone to explain what was just said, whether that's a term, an idea, a service, a reference to something, and whether you are in a meeting or in written communication. This also includes information that your child brings home. As we spoke about earlier, perspective is so important. We are not saying that children are not trustworthy, just that it helps to have the whole picture before you decide what action you are going to take. I'm going to throw in a little example here because it was just recently where a parent said, look at this work, my child is clearly not making progress. And the response from the school was, that was a baseline. We didn't give them any support because we wanted to see where they are. So again, that simple clarification could have made the parent's approach not feel so harsh. So again, clarify, ask for clarification. And that includes asking questions. This can be applied to all of the bullet points above. If at any moment you have a question about the IEP, about your rights as a parent, or any other question somehow related to their educational services and their progress, don't hesitate to ask. Typically, again, your first contact should be the case manager. If your question is specific to a service, you can also contact that provider. For example, the case manager may or may not be able to answer a specific question regarding a speech goal. If that is a related service and not the category of disability, you may want to be speaking with the speech pathologist. And again, asking open-ended questions opens the door to dialogue and collaboration.
Strategy 8 for effective communication with the IEP team is to listen for understanding and speak so you can be heard. Stephen R. Covey, who wrote a popular book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, said this: most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Communication is a two-way process that involves listening as well as speaking. The goal of listening is to understand. Try to focus on what others are saying, not your response. Let others finish speaking. Other people may have valuable information and insights that you need to hear. You may never hear that information or those insights if you don't listen. Your own thoughts and opinions are not enough. You are a vital part of the team, but so are the other members. Listen to understand, not to respond. As a parent and teacher, I often said that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Feel free to ask clarifying questions if you don't understand. Don't feel the need to agree. Fight the urge to be arguing mentally with what is being said. Let others finish speaking. Take notes. And as you're taking notes, keep in mind that special education is driven by data. Is the speaker expressing an opinion or is data being presented? If someone expresses an opinion, don't argue, but instead politely ask for the data or factual information to support it. A good habit to get into before moving forward, especially if you disagree, is to restate what you understand that was just shared. So phrases like, what I heard you say, or my understanding right now is, they're helpful in making sure that there is a common understanding among the group. This can be very important, especially if something has been misunderstood and the speaker then has the opportunity to clarify.
Strategy number 9. We are all human, and even in the best of relationships, there is disagreement. A good team does not imply that there will not be disagreement, rather that the team knows how to effectively move through the disagreement. Partners share a goal of effective education for your child with a disability. When achieving this goal is in danger due to disagreement, the partners can, number 1, disagree without being disagreeable. Express that you don't want this disagreement to interfere with your continued partnership. When there is a problem, own your part, and apologizing can help to ease the tension and move things forward. Realize that neither parents nor professionals have all the answers. Pick your battles. Prioritize your concerns and consider the risks of facing an issue or sidestepping it. Not everything is worth the effort of disagreement and resolution, and part of being a good team member is knowing when it makes sense to compromise. Consider using compromise or a trial period as a key towards a resolution, such as, well, let's try this until this date and see how it goes and reconvene. Base discussions on facts and data rather than opinions or emotions, and make sure that those facts are accurate. Separate the problem from the person. Be hard on the problem, but soft on the people. And understand that sometimes it is not the people that you interface with that are making the decisions. Solutions that are reached can be written into the IEP. Be sure to obtain a copy. And again, that IEP is a living document. It can always be revisited. Sometimes a disagreement just can't be resolved in a regular meeting. Both the Individuals with Disabilities Act and Minnesota state law actually make your right to disagree an important part of this whole process. We have included in your resources an explanation of the importance of the prior written notice, a document, again, you should receive every time the school is proposing a change, for example, adding or removing a service. And again, the second part of that form is a consent form, and that is where you can formally state your objections. Sometimes stepping away and coming back to the table is enough to move forward again, but if not, there are other dispute resolution options available. Things such as conciliation conferences, facilitated team meetings, and mediation are available for the team to work towards an agreement. There is more information in your resources and on our website. This is another time when parents will very often call us to get support through these other options. This is what exercising your right to object is all about, and it is a productive and constructive process.
And finally, strategy 10 for effective communication with the IEP team is to use your IEP team membership year-round. Being the parent of a child with a disability may get you a membership on an IEP team, and it can be a little bit like a gym membership because you get a lot more out of the benefit if you use it, the more you use it. And all the benefits of using your IEP team membership year-round go straight to your child in the form of more appropriate IEP supports and services. A parent, when asked why they felt they had such a good IEP team, responded, well, I email whenever I have questions. I don't wait for the IEP meeting. Having a child with a disability and getting a membership on the IEP team is a tremendous amount of work for parents. We sometimes feel like this amount of work is just too much And on top of everything, we as parents need to do what we have when we have a child with a disability. But time spent learning the process and building a collaborative team will help in the long run. We often get calls from parents in the spring who have been unhappy all year, but have never addressed their concerns or have done so only through verbal interactions. At that point, issues that were once fairly small have taken on bigger significance, and the time to fix it may be more than it would have been. In addition, there may have been consequences for your child. Parents know that all of your engagement makes a difference for your child. You are the only continuous member of your child's IEP team. You are the part of their team for all the years that your child is receiving special education services. Your expertise on your child and your input is critical to shaping IEP services and supports for them that will help them grow and reach their unique and amazing potential. Stay connected with your team. Check in. Ask for informal meetings to chat when you need clarification. You always have the right to ask for a full team meeting if you think that is needed. So I encourage you to engage. Use your IEP team membership year round. It is a powerful strategy for effective communication with your child's IEP team. So in a moment, we'll try to field the questions that you have to the question box, but we can also recap briefly.
And actually, we took out that
deleted
slide.
the recap.
We used to recap all the options here, but because you get a copy of the slideshow, you can just go look back through that document.